Welcome to the December 10th, 2019 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I am your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we are both solo together.
That is true.
If that makes any sense. We're a duo. A duo.
I just realized I gotta get going because I'm not interested in doing this right now.
If anybody would.
I am very, very put off by this intro, and I'm gonna go straight to bed.
No thanks, I'd rather not. But yeah, we have some pretty interesting news here that happened this week. I almost put it up something that was from a parody account, so I'm very thankful I didn't put that up. I was like, was this real? Because I didn't see anything around the internet about it, and it was pretty big news. So I'll let everybody in on it. There was a pretty professional looking tweet going around that said, Persona 4 Golden, which is a Vita exclusive and probably the most prominent game for the Vita that still is exclusive that people really, really want, which is a remake of the PS2 game Persona 4. There was a tweet going around that it was going to be available on PS4 in 2020.
Okay, I saw a different parody thing that was like funnier because it was way less believable. It was like Persona 5 for like the Wii U or something. What?
That I like practical jokes like that, but I don't like believable ones that like mess with me. And
because Persona 5 is on the PS4, so Persona 4 Golden coming to the PS4 is not like unreasonable.
Yeah, and it's also a game that people want.
Actually, my favorite parody thing that I saw recently was Hideo Kojima parts ways with Kojima Productions due to creative interests.
That was just funny.
Kojima leaves Kojima Productions.
Hard Times has had some real bangers lately.
Yeah, someone linked me to a Hard Times tweet that was like Pawn gets a critical hit in chess. It's like, what?
Yeah, no, that one was really good. I really enjoyed that. There are a couple that are just like, oh man, like too tough to swallow kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, it's like The Onion. Like, it's a little too real.
It's like, dude, bro. Yeah, like, why'd you do this to me? I wish I could find it right away because it was. I was like literally guffawing, and
I've seen
remember.
Stuff like, Star Wars fan like already mad about the movie that's not out yet, stuff like that. It's like not even a joke.
It's just truth.
Yeah. It's funny because like you should be laughing at this.
Yeah. No, I really like Hard Times. Whoever's writing for that is like some of the stuff that they are like pushing with that is just like really, really funny, and they must really know their stuff.
One of the Hard Times things that really made me laugh out loud was one of their videos, because they've been pushing a bunch of tweets about like a gamer running for president with like a gamer platform.
That guy's really good.
But the part that like made me laugh out loud for real is like, he's like, I want to represent all gamers, both real and mobile. I was like, oh shit. Like,
real?
He passes that off so casually. It was like the funniest thing. There's still shade against mobile gamers, even though he's like a representative of gamers. It's the funniest thing.
Really...
Real and mobile. What an asshole.
The guy who runs that gamer for president account is like really funny.
Yeah, he's like in it to win it. Like I'm starting to wonder if he really like believes he's a gamer presidential nominee.
The thing is, he goes to conventions too, like dressed as himself.
That's
like,
amazing.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm running for president. Like vote for me. And the things that he's running on are like, actually, you know what? Yeah, I would vote for you.
Yeah, better internet infrastructure. You know what? We've been needing that for like 20 years.
It's a better promise than anything else I've read in the last, like 10 years.
Yeah, right.
I wish I could find it because I was dying. I was dying on a few, but there's just
Yeah, there's so much stuff to go through.
Yeah, exactly. But we should get going here on uh on our actual news. So I did want to quickly point out there was a new Arcade Archives release. I usually go over the significant ones, or at least the ones that I'm interested in. But generally, if I'm not interested in this, I'm like the targeted audience for Arcade Archives.
Yeah.
If I'm not interested in it, like no one is. just just bet on that. But this is a pretty significant release because I think there was only a very obscure American release of this game in arcades. So this is one of the famous Konami shmups, Twinbee. And this is the first game in the series. So this is kind of like a cutesy version of Xevious, Namco's Xevious. So in other words, a vertical shooter that also has a bomb mechanic where you can attack things that are on the ground that you're flying over above, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, like if you're a plane dropping actual bombs, I mean, like again, I know not the most popular thing, but like in Raptor Call of the Shadows.
Sure.
Because you have air-to-air missiles and you have air-to-ground missiles.
Yeah, exactly. So there will be tanks and stuff, for instance, on the ground that you can only attack with these very like the shots that are shooting at things in the air don't need to be as accurate, but the ones that you have to that you're aiming on the ground have to be very accurate. Because they only target that one little spot. So this is a great game. It's really it has a bunch of sequels. It has like 5 or 6 sequels. And
Triplet B, quadruplet B.
you jest, but there is the Famicom version is 3-player. So yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah. You played that with the 2 built-in controllers, and then the expansion port you could plug a third controller into. So, but yeah, this is a great series. I mean, your mileage may vary on this exact release because this was part of the Konami Arcade Collection a few months back,
Mm-hmm.
and this was one of the titles that was included. However, it's released by the same company, Hamster. So I would say that if you want more bang for your buck, go for that. But if you didn't like the specific, or if you were only interested in like one or 2 titles, I would go with this one. And this also is a little bit more meticulous. It comes with 2 different emulated versions of the ROM, which the collection only has this single. So early arcade Konami arcade boards had this unusual circuitry called the bubble system, and only a couple different games ran on it, like the original Gradius and this, and maybe a couple other games, but it needed to warm up. It used heat somehow. It was weird. But they also reproduced it on regular architecture, or more common architecture later, like regular JAMA kind of arcade stuff later. So they're including both versions of it. So that's pretty cool. So it's a more meticulous release. I bought it because I'm a nutcase, but it's a game worth owning at least once. So I'll go to bat for it up to that much. Then after that, this kind of slipped under the radar, but have you heard about the Touryst at all?
Nope.
Okay, so this is a game by the company Shin-En, or Shinen. I think it's Shin-En. This company is pretty famous for making games that stretch Nintendo's consoles' graphical capabilities. They made the Iridion games and the Nanostray games. The Iridion games being on the GBA, and they were very graphically impressive shmups on the GBA. And likewise, I should say that those games are going to be released on GBA or on Steam pretty soon. Those two GBA games. So I did want to announce that while I had them. But they also made a really great racing game that was similar to F-Zero that sold really well for the Switch very early on. But anyway, it was a really cool company, and apparently they made this game called the Touryst, and it is a really good puzzle action platformer made with voxels, very similarly to 3D Dot Game Heroes or something like that. And apparently it's super charming, and it runs at 60 frames per second on the Switch and takes up something like less than 300 kilobytes of space.
What?
Yeah, it's like really insane. And if you saw this game in motion, you would never think it was only 300 kilobytes of space. Like it's a beautiful game. It looks really, really cool. Apparently, like the guys who program for this company are like wizards. Like they just come up with insane programming techniques that like no other company can do. But apparently it's like a really great and charming a puzzle action platformer. I don't think it has much combat. There are like enemies and stuff, but I think everything revolves around like puzzle solving and things like that. So I don't think it's like a game where you attack very much. You kind of just maybe your progress will get hindered rather than you getting killed or something like that. But some people are saying that it may even be like a Game of the Year contender. Like Digital Foundry was saying how much they loved it, and the technical specs also really wowed them. So I'm excited to try it for sure. Moving on from that, there are new games finally added to the NES and Super NES Switch apps, which haven't had. The Super Nintendo never had an update, so that this is pretty big news. People thought that Nintendo had pretty much given up, and you could see why, because like despite people complaining, I kind of look at these services and I go, what else could they really add? Because like most of the really iconic stuff is third party after after they release all of their famous official
Well, they
titles.
did add something very significant.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that. But what I was gonna say is like the Super Nintendo app has pretty much every Nintendo published game you could ever want besides what they just announced. And I think the NES one has everything other than maybe Star Tropics 2. I can't honestly think of too many Nintendo published titles that they didn't put on that thing. So like a lot of people are complaining like, oh, there's no support. It's just like, no, Nintendo put all their games on there. Like the only thing that's left is like Capcom games, and Capcom games for the most part have been supported. All the ones that haven't been in a collection they put on there. I mean they put Demon's Crest on there. Demon's Crest is a great game.
Well, you're going back to Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah, on Super Nintendo. But like all the rest of their games, they had to release they released in their own collections, which are available on Switch anyway. So anyway, the new ones that are going to be added, which are really good. Only 4 titles for SNES, but they're extremely significant. So I'll go over them one by one here. Super Punch-Out!, which is a fantastic game. It's a favorite of mine. Some people really don't like this one as much as the NES one, but I love this game. I really love it on its own merit.
Yeah, the Super Nintendo one, I believe, is a little more authentic to the arcade title, whereas
for sure.
Most people didn't encounter the arcade title ever, so they grew up with NES Punch-Out. So they're like, why is the Super Punch-Out so different?
No, the NES one is the different one, actually. And a lot of the enemies are the same as the arcade ones. Like Bear Hugger comes from the arcade. Gabby J, I think, comes from the arcade. There's quite a few. There's quite a few. But anyway, I love Super Punch Out, and I couldn't be happier that it's on there. Kirby Superstar, which is a fantastic game. Kirby's Dream Land 3 is already on the Switch. So Kirby Superstar, I think, is the only other Super Nintendo Kirby game that isn't on there. I think Dream Course is already on there. So Kirby Superstar is fantastic. It's a great game. I really love it. I like the DS remake even more because it's just the same thing with more content. But this is a great classic. Everybody should play Kirby Superstar. There's a lot of cool stuff about it. Breath of Fire 2, which is a surprise. That is a Capcom RPG from that era. So Capcom's been supporting this. That one doesn't get a whole lot of ports. So I'm thankful that it exists.
Yeah, Breath
the
of
first
Fire
one's
is
already
kind of
on
a
there.
forgotten series.
Yeah, it's a shame too because I know more than a few people that think the fifth one is one of the best RPGs ever made. And it's also the black sheep of the series. So I definitely want to play the fifth one. I may go back and play like the first two. The first two are very, like, I wouldn't say generic, but like they're very typical RPGs, like, so your mileage may vary of whether it's worth your time, and whether you play one of the greats or not, but it's certainly a really good one, and have it on the go, that's really cool too. I think they're the only RPGs out of both of these services that are on that. Yeah, I can't think of anything else other than, is Mario RPG on there? I don't think it is. So yeah, I having a good serviceable 16-bit RPG is something that Nintendo needs for this service. They certainly don't have any of the Final Fantasy games. The Secret of Mana games have their own collection. So yeah, this is probably the next best thing, other than the SquareSoft games. So it's good. It's good. But this is super significant. So getting its only official release past the Super SNES Classic,
Yep.
Star Fox 2,
Mm-hmm.
which is really, really awesome. People have been wondering whether that was just going to be the only release they ever made of that game. To be stuck on a basically a novelty system. So
Yeah.
this is really cool. I mean, the SNES emulation on the Switch is better than the SNES Mini, and this is great. I mean, this is really cool, and you can play it on the go. I'll probably end up actually playing it now, which is great. I think that
enjoy your like 15 FPS, like, because the Star Fox Super Nintendo games were slow as shit. Like, even at the best of times, that's just how they are.
yeah, but they're fun. I still think they're eminently playable.
You know what actually really did blow my mind though, because like, I mean, I saw like unfinished builds of Star Fox 2 when I was in college, because that was one of those games you knew was never going to come out, so that's why it was such a surprise when it finally did come out. But just the fact that your ship can transform into a walker seamlessly, like immediately with the press of a button, I could not believe that.
Yeah, really cool. I'm excited. I mean, I think that's really, really cool that they are doing that. So once again, I'll say I don't think there's much left that they can add to this. I mean, the best games, the best third-party games for this system are already on the Switch. Like the Mega Man X games.
Where's Super Smash Bros. Brawl? Where's Melee?
Oh, Jesus. No, I mean like SNES and NES games. Like like you have Mega Man X has its own collection. It's on there.
Yeah.
The Castlevania games have their own collection.
Contra has their own collection.
Contra has its own collection, and the big three are already in there. Super Metroid, Zelda, and Super Mario World, along with Yoshi's Island, which nobody expected. So, what else? What else could you want? Like, these are the cream of the crop. SNES games are all on here, except for the three Final Fantasies. Or 4 if we're counting, Lotus's special favorite.
Well, it's the only one I played all the way through. But yeah, Final Fantasy V, which America did not get on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly.
So, were you referring to Mystic Quest?
Yes.
Oh, so okay, yeah. So there's what America knew as Final Fantasy 2, 3, and Mystic Quest, but then
Yeah.
America did not get the true Final Fantasy 5 either.
Yeah. So I mean, like those are really the only games that are missing, and I guarantee that SquareSoft is working on putting those games on the Switch. And also Chrono Trigger, I guess. I forgot about Chrono Trigger. So really only SquareSoft games are left out in the wind here. So maybe also maybe the Dragon Quest games, but those are all remade on the DS. So and have better versions there. So this is really good. I'm really happy with that selection. The NES selection is quite good too. SNK's Crystalis, which is a game that's very similar to Legend of Zelda, and also one of the few games SNK made specifically for the NES. It's really fantastic. It's a really, really good game. It's already on the Switch via the SNK 25th Anniversary Collection, but it's really good that if you don't have that, but you have the online service with Nintendo, that you could just get this for free, essentially. And the other one, which is a surprise, this is Sunsoft's Journey to Silius, which is an excellent game. Excellent game that started off as a Terminator.
Terminator, right? Yeah, it just looks it.
Yeah, well, it I think there's even a prototype out there with actual like Terminators in it.
Oh,
which is
nice.
pretty cool. But excellent game, has some of the best music on the system as well. So some good choices here. The only thing that that I can think that we don't have access to for NES is probably like the Ninja Turtle games. Like, man, good luck getting those.
Yeah, like Batman's.
Oh yeah, and the Batman games. Yeah,
I mean, like
I
any
forgot about
movie
Batman.
license stuff.
Yeah, I forgot about the Batman games. But yeah, I mean, we have access to pretty much everything else, so I'm pretty thankful for these. I mean, I think it's just that I think more people were expecting more third-party releases, but I mean, most of these are around. I don't know. Mega Man and all them can be gotten. So, it's good though. I think all of these are good, and it's for the price of nothing if you pay $20 a year, which is very reasonable for an online service. So, moving on from that, this one is one that you notified me of. This is really cool. So Data Discs teased this for about half a day, and then they released that they were putting up pre-orders for Iridion Silvergun vinyl, which is really cool. Data Discs probably makes my my favorite vinyls of all of them. They make a lot of the Sega branded ones, and this is of course no exception.
Yeah, they did like Streets of Rage and Shenmue and Revenge of Shinobi.
Yeah, they did all the big Genesis games. And Radiant Silvergun is, of course, made by Treasure, but it was published by Sega. They also did Gunstar Heroes earlier.
Radiant Silvergun was on Saturn, right?
Saturn. It was at first an arcade game, and then it went to Saturn. And then
it has since been ported.
It got ported to the Xbox 360 and is playable via backwards compatibility on the Xbox One X. The Xbox One and all of its permutations. Definitely a great game. Awesome music. It is also the predecessor to Ikaruga, so if you like the music of that, which is also really fantastic, you'll like Radiant Silvergun's music. Treasure has always had really good music in their games, so I definitely recommend it. And moving on, M2 and the company Tatsujin are teaming up to port all of Taoplan's catalog to current systems, which probably just means PS4 and Switch. But I am very excited for this. So Tatsujin is, of course, the company's namesake is probably the most famous Taoplan game. This is one I've talked about a few times, but it's a famous shmup company, and they basically pioneered the bullet hell genre with a game called Truxton or Tatsujin. This one you've heard me talk to Lotus Prince about, where it has like one of the most iconic bomb animations. It has a gigantic skull. Do you know what Tatsujin means?
Is Tatsu like? This is gonna drive me crazy. Is it like spinning or like wind or something?
It means steel.
Steel. Okay.
Yeah. So, and do you know what gene is?
Was that the wind?
No, people. So steel,
Okay.
person or steel people.
I was thinking like JIN. I don't know.
Yeah, no big deal, no big deal. I did not give you notes.
Yeah.
But Taoplan is famous for a lot of really great shmups. One of them is Tiger Heli, which was an early shmup favorite for the NES. Nowadays, it's kind of seen as a poor port, but it was one of the early games for the NES, so a lot of people owned it. It's never really gotten a really good arcade port, which is a much better version than the NES version. So I'm glad to be getting that for sure. That's one of them. They also made a game called was it Fire Shark, where you're a biplane. That's really really good. So they've come up with a lot of different really cool games. Hellfire, they're the company that made Zero Wing. You know what you're doing. Take off every zig. You know, all your base art belong to us.
My favorite by a lot is still "How Are You, Gentlemen."
How are you, gentlemen?
Like, oh, how nice of me.
Yeah, that's them. With any luck, they'll include the that translation, but I very much doubt it.
Yeah.
Considering that only came to the Genesis, like European version of that game. So, but they have other really great games in their in their menagerie here. Another one is Snow Brothers, which is one of my favorites. Have you ever played Snow Brothers?
Only on emulator because you like can't find that game.
Yeah. So Snow Brothers is similar to Bubble Bobble, except you're like snowmen and you throw snowballs at enemies until you turn them into a snowball, and then you
roll them into a wall, or if you combo it, you can roll them down the level into other enemies and go for point bonuses.
Yeah, I really love Snow Brothers. I used to play it on the Game Boy. But yeah, that it's also a really like rare game for the NES. So, but it's really really good. And probably their best game is called Batsugun, which is their last shmup that they ever made. This is a favorite that's on the Saturn. It's really 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 good. It's a sequel to Fire Shark that I mentioned earlier, the one where you're a biplane. Your character, one of the hidden characters is the character from that game, but like something like 60 years later.
Nice.
So he's like much older. But Batsugun is an awesome game. So
That just kind of makes me think of like one of the Castle of Shikigami games, just randomly like an adult version of Time Gal as a playable character. Like, what?
Yeah.
Bet you didn't see that one coming. Like, okay.
Yeah. There's also a game called Outzone, which is really good. That is kind of similar to and Fixate is its spiritual successor. It's similar to, I guess, maybe the overhead levels of Contra, like Super C. So all of these games are really really cool, and their intention is to bring pretty much all of them, unless there's some rights issues. So I'm really really stoked for this, because their games are really really good. You may only hear about hardcore people talk about them, but they're in such short supply, and for the longest time even MAME didn't emulate them properly. I think they only recently, in the last 5 years, got fixed because they had some weirdo encryption like docking them while they were trying to emulate them. So I'm super excited. I can't wait. I might be the only person who cares, and maybe some other shmups fans, but it's really cool, and they are formative for a lot of the shmup companies that we know today to be like some of the best, like Cave. A lot of the people that worked at Cave and also M2 are currently got their start there. So really good stuff. So moving on from that, this one's really exciting. Did you see this? The anniversary bundle for Bayonetta and Vanquish.
I think I heard something about that.
Yeah. So Xbox actually really kind of leaked this, but it's really cool. Apparently, Vanquish is supposed to run at 4K 60 frames per second on an Xbox One X, which is amazing. And Vanquish is one of those games where, like, the faster like your system runs, the better. It's like real life actually slows it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like one of those things. So I'm really excited for this. They haven't confirmed whether it's going to be an Xbox exclusive or not, but we know at least it's going to be on the Xbox. It's very possible that it will be on the PS4 as well, but really exciting stuff, especially since the PC version of Vanquish apparently had some like balance issues, so they like changed the kind of like the way that the game worked, like in high play mode. So this will be a lot of fun. You were a pretty big fan of Vanquish, right?
I liked it all right. I mean, I played through it once. It was a lot of fun. Like, I'm not gonna like with Platinum games, I don't replay them, but they're a lot of fun the first time through.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, I'm certainly excited. I have only really played some surface level stuff in that game, so they keep re-releasing it, and I'm gonna keep buying it, I guess. But eventually, I'll get to it.
Yeah, I beat it. It certainly I mean, I was gonna say it gets crazy, but the first level is freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, I really love that. I played the shit out of the demo.
Yeah.
I just never got around to playing it.
You played it at like Comic-Con.
Yeah. It was really, really freaking good. I'm really excited. So maybe even it will work with like, you know, Xbox 360 versions of the game. I don't know what their intention is, whether it's going to be a back compat or whether it's just going to be a straight up new release or whatever. But I guess we'll find out, right?
No. I mean, right.
We'll never figure it out.
I have a disc right here. Nope. Never going to find out.
No, I said no. But this was also really cool and a really big surprise. So there was a version 2.0 update to Super Mario Maker 2, which was really interesting. So they added Link to it.
Yeah, and the Master Sword. Like, I don't know what that means, but they're in there.
Well, what the Master Sword is it's kind of like a power-up, kind of like a mushroom that turns Mario into Link.
Okay.
So it's the Master Sword, obviously from Zelda 1. But this is really cool because Link has a completely different moveset than Mario. Like all of his weapons are included, like bombs, arrows, his sword. So you can make all new levels like themed around like Zelda stuff. There was even one really interesting level where there's like a wall in front of Link, and there is like a P switch that he needs to hit, like all the way on the other side, and you're like wondering how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to shoot an arrow diagonally over, and it's supposed to arc over and
nice.
and hit it. Really cool stuff. Kotaku has like an article saying basically this is the closest thing you'll ever get to a Zelda 2 maker.
Yeah, right.
Because it plays like Zelda 2. It doesn't play like the original Zelda because it's side-scrolling, so it's more like Zelda 2. But it's really, really neat. This is a significant like feature that they added to this game, so really cool stuff. really cool stuff. Which means like you can have entire levels themed around this link transformation, or just have it as an option. Really neat. So moving on from that, we also have Halo Reach is now out on PC. You can buy it on its own or as part of the Master Chief Collection. Apparently it runs really well, but still kind of has some glitches to iron out. But apparently it's still just as great as it used to be. So really cool that it's on there. I don't have much to say other than, I was a fan of the early parts of the Halo series, and I know a lot of people that really, really love it. And it's cool that it's been made more accessible. It's one of those series that you never thought would Microsoft ever really like give their exclusivity of that up. And I guess they don't really view it that way. I guess they see themselves more as a software publisher nowadays, and they're just trying to get their product out to as many people as possible, which is pretty cool philosophy. But they also put out the Xbox as a way to get at their games if that's what you want, which is pretty cool. Think of it as kind of like an accessible PC. A way of.
I prefer not to think of it that way.
I don't care what you prefer. But moving on from that. Trails of Cold Steel 3 was announced for Switch. I think that's really cool, especially considering... What's up?
Cold.
That's really cold. Considering that a lot of these games take a long time to play, and having them available portable is a really good idea. The first two games were on the Vita. I think they're upgraded versions later on, that were released for PS4 and PC later, were not ported back to Vita. But I know quite a few people that played them on Vita to start with.
And the first two, of course, were released on PS3 as well.
Yeah, exactly. And they ran really well on Vita at the same time. So it's really good to play, any RPG that takes a long time portably, just so you can, play it casually. I do that with Dragon Quest XI, and I love it. So I could see this being like the turning point for some people that were thinking, maybe I won't pick that one up because it'll take me a long time to play. So this will be good. This next one is kind of an esoteric thing, but I thought it was pretty neat. A company called Beep in Japan, which is kind of like a software and like video game store, announced that they are releasing MSX games physically, like re-releasing them.
Yeah, that's insane.
Which is really neat. And one of the more popular MSX2 games, Undeadline, I've never played it myself, but apparently it's a classic. Is going to be like the first game that they release like that. But if you have a working MSX computer, I know a friend of the show, Tom Lipschultz, does.
I was gonna say I know one person who has one.
I wish I had one. I'm not gonna lie, I would love an MSX, like one of the super souped up versions of them. But apparently the Mr. Project has a really good MSX core, so I think I'll be using that instead. But it's still really neat that somebody's willing to republish a game for an esoteric platform. I mean, it wasn't really esoteric over there, but they're also releasing it like on the same platform, which is ballsy. Ballsy, to say the least. So if anybody in Japan still has their MSXs, man, go for it. And Darius Cosmic Collection never ceases to stop being in the news. But they are adding 3 new games to it. Not really new, but Sagaya, and which is the US version of Darius 2 on the Genesis. Supernova, which they already have the Japanese version of that one. It's called Darius Force, but they're putting the U.S. version of that on there, and they're putting Darius Plus, which is a PC Engine game. So three new ways to play games that are already on there, but new versions of them, which is always appreciated. The more versions of things you have, the more comprehensive these collections are, the better. But they're also adding English language support to the Japanese one, so that's a big deal for me. It's not out in the U.S. yet, so I kind of felt like I might want to buy the U.S. one in addition to the one that I already spent a lot of money on, just because I wanted English menus. But thankfully, I won't have to do that. But yeah, this game has been such a mess. I don't know why they chose to release it like this, and keep on keeping people in the dark about it. It's really odd. But I'm thankful at any rate, and I'm not going to buy the any of the localized versions because I won't need to. So that's good for me. And anybody else who is an early adopter. Also, this you might be interested in this, Lotus. Possible teaser for Armored Core.
Yeah, this threw me off. Apparently From Software's website updated, and there's just a picture on it that looks like it could be from an Armored Core game. So it's is that series going to get revived? Because I don't think anything's happened with Armored Core since 5 or Verdict, on the PS3.
Yeah, that's correct. So quite some time since then, because they've From Software's been busy on their Soulsborne series. So this is cool. I mean, maybe they'll return back to what they were popular for before. So that's pretty neat.
Plus, Evergrace. That's the one, right?
No.
Eternal Ring. Not all fantasies are final. Famous last words from
God. Oh god, no, it's Echo Knight.
You know that series none of you liked? Well, now it's on the PS2, so move over, Final Fantasy. What?
But you've shown some interest at least in playing these now that you're basically a From Software.
With a guide,
expert.
The games are actually playable, so they're actually pretty fun if you know what you're doing, and if you can get used to the really ancient control scheme. As in, the PS2 game does not use the sticks. Yeah,
it's kind of funny. But I'm excited because maybe I'm hopefully. My problem with the Armored Core games is that it always had its fans. Even back when the first one released, some people really, really loved it. They loved the customizability of it, but I never really understood. Just like with the Souls game, I kind of was going after highest attack power, and as a result, in this game, you in the original game, you got weighed down because of that. Yeah. So I always felt like it played way too clunky, and I never liked it. But now that I kind of understand that, going big and heavy in a From Software game is not the way to go.
Unless
you really know what you're doing.
Yeah,
unless you really know what you're doing. Yeah. But that's how I played Demon Souls, so I had a hard time when I first started that. But then once somebody was like, "Nah, you should just be the Prince class, and then have some magic, and then just dodge shit." Just be good at getting around things, and you'll find other ways to deal with being attacked other than armor and things like that.
See, that's what I like about Bloodborne, is that there is very little difference in stat boosts from armor, and there's no weight. Just equip what you want and play the game. It's pretty great. Also dodge, because there's one shield in the game and it's a piece of shit on purpose.
Which game is this?
Bloodborne.
Oh yeah.
There's a piece of shit wooden shield. It's well.
Nobody uses it. Nobody uses that. But yeah, maybe I might like the Armored Core games now better. That now that I know them, now that I know these games a little bit better, or at least I know their design philosophy, a speedy. A speedy character in these games tends to have a much bigger advantage. because they're nimble.
Yeah, not to mention, like, even in the Souls games, you might have a weapon with lighter attack, but if you could just rapid swing with it, then it'll, like, its DPS is much greater than the heavier weapon.
Yeah, I didn't understand stuff like that back when I was playing the original Armored Core, and I was like a teenager at the time, so I just didn't get it. So, unless somebody had spelled that out, it's just like, oh no, I'm just gonna put, this is how much weight my core can carry, so I'm just gonna put all the stuff I can and the goal in my mind was like, no, you wanna like optimize what can fit onto this thing, rather than like so you could get as many features as you can. But it turns out, no, you really should just
specialize.
Yeah, exactly. So I was playing those games all wrong, so maybe a new one will be really good. Plus it'll probably play better, with all of the strides they've made in like making these games like feel good.
Yeah.
Since the last Armored Core game. I mean, the Soulsborne games were a lot different than the Armored Core games, which were right before them. So I think this will be a good way to get back on the series too. Moving on from that, I'm pretty excited about the Mega Man Zero ZX collection. Speaking of Capcom stuff on Switch, apparently there will be a bunch of mini games based off of the games in here that will give you like special objectives, which is pretty cool. Apparently about 20 different mini games are going to be in this, so there's some unique content that isn't in the original games that's going to be in there. So I thought that was pretty neat, and I love it when collections do that. They give you a reason to, buy the collection even if you already played the games.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty neat. So this just got released today, the recording of this on December 8th, but Godz is finally on Steam. I've been waiting for this to pop up on Steam for a while because they've had this coming soon banner on there for a really long time. Do you know what Godz is?
Nope.
So Vlambeer, the makers of Nuclear Throne and Luftrausers and Super Crate Box, had a first-person shooter that was kind of like very similar to Wolfenstein 3D, not even more rudimentary than like Doom. It's very much more like Wolfenstein. It kind of looked like one of their early projects, but they had it on their website for a while. You could just download it for free, but this is free as well. It's just fun, 12 levels, 4 secret levels, and it has like kind of a pixely art style. It looks really fun. So I thought it was a cool little thing. The features include fast-paced gun and melee combat in a stylish presentation, full Venetian soundtrack.
All right.
Like Venusian, because apparently it takes place on Venus. Player health doesn't recharge. Okay, and
no, that actually is like that. That's like a shot at PS3 era games where you just like Halo, Halo was originalized, but where you just like regen after taking a couple of hits. So like a lot of those, because they like health packs were considered kind of like dated, but that just turned every first person shooter into like get hit, hide, come out, get hit, hide, so
yeah.
that was kind of like a little bit of a slower era for shooters on the PS3 era, and like even into the PS4, like Uncharted does that, where your health gets black and white until you hide out for a little while.
Yeah. Oh, and this is a final feature. Most emotional ending in a video game to date.
I call bullshit. I have played some fucking emotional games, dude.
You have not played it.
I have played Corpse Party. I've played 4 of the 5 Yoko Taro games. Well, actually, that's not true. 3 of the 4 Yoko Taro games. Dragon Guard 2 does not fucking count. What?
Mother 3.
Mother 3, Rule of Rose, Silent Hill, like early Silent Hills.
Any of the Metal Gear Solids.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
like the Metal Gear Solids. There was one that was on the tip of my tongue recently. Oh, The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Uncharted 4 in particular.
To be fair, they didn't specify which emotion.
It's a good point. You know
I'm just
what?
saying.
You might have gotten me there.
They just said emotional. We don't.
Okay.
It might be the happiest ending of all time.
That's true. Although I've played some in games with really, really happy endings as well.
But okay, yeah, they specified what this game was originally. So Gun Godz was created for the Venus Patrol Kickstarter. Was only released as part of a bundle of games, including a new Super Brothers game and Atom Atomics capsule. So apparently this was not like a full retail product and was kind of obscure, and they decided to put it up on Steam for free.
Well,
so.
Obscure's got 2 games. Debatably 3, but the third one had his name changed, didn't it?
Okay, no. But I think it's cool. And you know, I've been into the old school first-person shooters for a little bit right now. I've actually started playing Duke Nukem 3D just for fun, and I've been really enjoying that as well.
Have you played Duke Nukem 2?
No, I didn't play
Duke Nukem 3D
2.
begins precisely where Duke Nukem 2 ends.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That yellow ship that goes flying down in the sky, that's like what took you from level to level. Like, oh, I found my ship, level over. So like they shot that down. So like you haven't
terrible day.
You haven't finished Duke Nukem 2 for like 5 minutes, and a different alien race shoots you down to get home. Like, son of a bitch.
It's fucked. Yeah. But yeah, I really am enjoying it. I find that the real world environments are the most fun.
Yeah,
because...
no, I love it. Like, you go into like an office building or something, or like you get to go. Like, I remember how mind blowing it was when you could turn on and off the lights.
Yeah,
like that was crazy for like a 90s FPS.
Yeah, I beat the first episode at LA Meltdown, so now I'm in the
That's
lunar.
a great episode.
The lunar module.
Lunar Apocalypse, I think it was.
Yeah.
That. I think people were a little less into that because it's in space, but like there's some really interesting level design in that one. I quite like it. And you have to fight enforcers. Fuck those guys. And
the lizards,
the machine gun guys.
Yeah.
And the Protozoid Slimers, which, like, I could not look at the screen when those things showed up. Like, by today's standards,
they're creepy.
Like the green slime guys.
Yeah.
Like, I would always look away and just equip a gun and just fire blindly until they were gone, or I would use like the code to go into the third person whenever I was in a room with a slime. I could not look at the screen when those things were out. It scared the hell out of me.
You might know this, but I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question, but it always kind of bothered me. The girls that have been like kidnapped and are like, kill me.
Yeah.
Do they just want you to kill them? Like, is there a way to save them?
They do want you to kill them, and like, to make yourself feel better, maybe you should. But the thing is, if you kill the women in these games, that there's a decent chance that'll spawn angry enemies. So you kind of shouldn't kill them, even though you really probably should.
Like, morally.
Yeah.
But there's no other thing you can do to them other than kill them, is my point, right?
Not unless you're playing on the Nintendo 64.
Oh, okay.
Because they censored that. So if you press spacebar, like, they just beam away, and it's like you saved them. So, like, that'll scratch that itch, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
I figured because there's literally no button that I could press that could like.
No, you
do
cannot
anything
possibly. Again, like the N64 version is censored. That's why the saving is an option. But like for real, there is no way to save them. And if you do kill them, then at best nothing will happen, and at worst a couple goons will spawn in.
Yeah. Well, I'm enjoying that. Like I said, I've been going through a lot of old FPSs. I've been talking about like Doom and all the and I played a little bit of Blood for Halloween's sake and all that stuff, and I think that's really cool. But moving on.
Oh, actually, one thing before we move on. Mm-hmm. So you played LA Meltdown, right?
Yes, I got through it all.
Now that you've played it and you kind of have a sense of what the soundtrack is like, what I recommend you do is go to YouTube and look up the soundtrack for the PS1 port of Duke Nukem 3D, because they're all covers of the original game,
Oh,
and
neat.
they sound quite good.
Ooh. Well, I will check that out. Definitely.
Especially that first level, because, it's like Doom E1 M1. That's the first thing everybody
Yeah,
hears,
it's
so it's
iconic.
most in your head.
Yeah.
So in Duke 3D, that da-da, 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 da, it's just like in my head forever.
Nice. Well, moving on from that, I just have some I guess this is like homebrew kind of stuff that I quickly wanted to go over. There is a new Virtual Boy flash cart in the works. There's never been really a really good convenient one for Virtual Boy. There really has been just like a single like ROM at a time one, and it's not even being currently made. And like it can't even do like the hyper fighting ROM, the Street Fighter 2 ROM. It doesn't even fit on that one. So there's some major disadvantages to it. Well, somebody is developing one that will have like an e-paper screen where you could select, through a menu. So that'll be really cool, and we'll have the ability to play any ROM that is available for the Virtual Boy. So I just thought that was a quick thing that I thought was really neat. Also, I never really seen a one with e-paper on it, which I thought was interesting. So moving on from that, the GCLoader is making huge progress. This is an ODE for the GameCube. A few weeks back, we talked about a device that could be plugged into the bottom of the GameCube. I actually bought you one. It's like an SD loader. That's more supposed to be for homebrew and things like that. It's not really as good for streaming complete GameCube games. I think it's possible, but there's some like hitching to it. This would be an even better solution, and apparently it's going to be really good. So another optical drive emulator solution, which I think will be really good. And the guy who's making is the same guy who made, his name is Citrus 3000 PSI, or Dan Coons. He made the Dreamcast HDMI.
Ooh, very nice.
And he's also working on the PS2 and PS1 HDMI.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the PS2 one because, I mean, we've talked about this before. With the FrameMeister, if you use component cables from the PS2, there's going to be a little bit of flickering because the game wants to resync. So it has arguably the best presentation. It could certainly go into 1080i for some games, but there's that flickering. So I've been playing with RGB, because if you compare components and RGB 480i, they're similar enough. So RGB's fine, but if I ever really wanted to do 480p or 720, then components the only way. So an HDMI solution would be fantastic.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. So he's working on a bunch of different things that are going to be really, really awesome, and he makes progress very quickly. I've noticed, like, on all the projects that he mentions, he makes like incremental
it
progress
wasn't
on them.
That long from when he announced the Dreamcast HDMI solution to where you could buy it. That's what I like. Like, I'm not really a fan of when people say, "Guess what, guys? I'm starting to work on some project," and like,
and they're haven't even begun working on it or whatever. Yeah,
they have like sort of like a cobbled together version of what they would like to have. But like, I much prefer it when they say like, "I'm already 2 or 3 steps in. I've made some progress already. And I'm working on it." Like, it's like Kickstarter. Don't try funding an idea. Try funding the couple of steps you've already done, and you need money to like finish.
Exactly. Well, he's really, really good with this stuff, and he also makes good with his promises. So I'm looking forward to both of these projects that are coming up from him. I also gave my Dreamcast HDMI a test run, because I sent it to my modder and I got it back, but I had it sitting there in the box for I don't know, almost a year.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
And I hadn't been able to get to it, and lo and behold, I plugged everything in, and it's freaking great. Like, I even updated the firmware on it, and it's really, really, really
Yeah, I have the
impressive.
mod. I still need to get it installed.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have to recommend you to Rob
Yeah.
Dakotas. He's really, really good. I think after after the holidays are done, he's going to start taking uh, jobs again. So
Yeah, that'd be great because
yeah,
like
he's really good.
for the chip you gave me for the PS2, I might be able to just get someone locally. But you had mentioned for the Dreamcast, like he does like fans and stuff and makes the system be able to support the
Oh
new tech.
yeah, that wasn't the only thing that I. That reminds me. I'll tell the audience that wasn't like the only thing that I had done when I had that done. He put a new power, like a new PSU in there, new power inverter in there, because like because the system no longer has the drive in it, because I also have an optical drive emulator already in my Dreamcast. It also gets hotter, and also doesn't use as much. It doesn't need as much power. So, and plus there have been really great strides in better, more efficient powering technology. They basically made that whole new thing a much quieter fan,
Yeah,
and
Dreamcast
also
is fucking loud, dude. Like it and the PS3 are like the loudest systems.
yeah, and somebody also came up with a rechargeable battery system, so your clock doesn't die every single time you turn it off. So
Oh yeah, that was a
yeah,
thing.
yeah, so they really did a really they he did a really awesome job. Like my Dreamcast does not sound like a Dreamcast. Dreamcasts have a very specific like kind of sound to them,
Yeah,
and
like
they're very
it's
noisy
like
system.
your mom upstairs. Like, are you playing the Dreamcast right now?
Exactly, exactly. Um, it almost sounds like somebody is scratching a record. Like it's like all the time,
Yeah, and
especially
same with
when
the
you're playing an
PS3. It
RPG.
like chunks. It's like it's like, oh, come on.
But yeah, it my system is fantastic now. It's all souped up. So I'm really 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 happy with it. Now I can not play Shenmue 1 on it because they
Yeah, now that it's on the PS4,
yeah,
I
now
suppose you
I
could
can
play
play
the undub.
Shenmue 1 with Coca-Cola machines in it.
Yeah, there we go.
Because that's what I was missing. I'd rather have that than good camera control.
Shenmue's camera control still isn't great.
No, but it's a lot better than it was. At least it has it.
Does it? Like, I remember you could center the view behind your guy, but I don't
That's
remember being able to just pan.
you could pan in the new one, I think, in the new version of it, but like you just had like shoulder controls
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
original version. It's not good. Moving on from that, on related news, Furtek, who made the Neo Geo core for the Mister, and also he made the video out solutions for the Virtual Boy, called the Virtual Tap. Uh, he's now making a Neo Geo CD loader, which is really neat. So if you if you have a Neo Geo CD system, you could somebody will have an optical drive emulator out there for it, and that's a good system to have that for because it has really slow load times with the actual thing. That's actually like the major thing that's wrong with those systems. So if you won't have any major load times, and also you could play games in a much cheaper way because all Neo Geo things are super expensive. So it's pretty cool. And finally, in semi-related news, the Mister Project got a Sega CD FPGA core, which is really big news. This is like really really awesome. This is like the first major standalone FPGA core for the Sega CD, which means that it is super accurate hardware simulation. It's also the first CD system to get an FPGA standalone FPGA core. So really, 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 really cool stuff. You could basically play like super accurate Sega CD versions if you have one of these Mister systems, and I'm really looking to buying one now because I was thinking about getting a Mega SD for my Mega SG, and that's pretty much the same thing as this, but you would have all the other systems included. So I really am getting more and more thinking about getting this. I pre-ordered a couple items to make my own, and I'll show it to you, Lotus. That way you could decide whether you want it to. But I think it's up your alley.
Mm-hmm.
And just as kind of a final send-off here, I wanted you to talk a little bit about your latest game reveal.
The less I talk about this game, the better.
This is true.
The game is a trash fire, and you play as garbage human beings. No, so people who haven't seen my reveal already, they if they follow my channel, they may have been aware of a game that the two of us played, made by Lazrule, the game called Fucker in the Woods, where we're just a bunch of idiots running around in the woods, and we get a couple of our own members killed through sheer incompetence and stupidity, and we're awful, and our best friend is awful, and other people don't like barely tolerate us, as should be the case, and we're fucking lame. And that game got a sequel called Fucker in the Gulag. So our piece of shit characters are going to a gulag now, and it doesn't look like a gulag until it does, but then it doesn't. I don't know. It's just like when you get screenshots of your house in the first game, like your room is like the worst thing I've ever seen, and then the rest of the house is like gorgeous, and it doesn't look like it's the same architecture at all. It's like just dissonant pictures like that. So you get more of that treatment in Fucker in the Gulag.
Lazarol even made like warped versions of us.
Yes. So now we can be
for the title
pieces
cards.
Of shit too. This game's actually quite hilarious, and
it's really
we
funny.
had fun voicing the characters in it.
It's a freebie too, isn't it?
I believe so. Well, yeah. Because I think on whatever the IO was, you could just download it, and I'm pretty sure it's free on Steam as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for the third one.
There's gonna be a third one.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Fucker in Rome. But yeah, Lazarul never ceases to make me laugh. And
he's a mad genius.
Yeah, he's a really, really funny guy, and you should interact with him on Twitter because he's great, and we're obviously big fans.
He's a great guy.
I will buy. I'm really glad that his games are free, but I would pay good money for this garbage. So
yes,
he should be charging me. I'll put it out there, Lazarul. You really should be charging for your games because you make
magical.
Me cringe constantly, and
yep.
it's like cringe in a good way. It's just like, oh my god, you found the most creative way to be like morally bankrupt with these characters.
Yeah.
Like constantly.
Like, as in, we did not attend our best friend's funeral because we were grinding in RuneScape.
And everything.
That's who we play as.
Every conclusion that this series has makes it seem like you got the bad end, but it's the only end.
He actually did leave a comment on my YouTube video asking which ending we got, so like...
Oh, maybe there's...
Not sure if shitpost, but I really thought that the only ending we got was the only ending, so I don't know. I'll have to look into that later.
But the thing is, he I can't
like,
trust
I
him.
thought it would be like Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, where it's like, did you get all the library cards, but there's only like the one.
I can't trust his like the things that he's insinuating because like he could just be trolling us.
It was great because when I put out the next game reveal, I tagged him in the tweet and I said like it begins, and he responded like it never truly ends. It's like, oh no.
Fucker never changes. But I have a feeling that could we save that one guy? Maybe.
Oh, that's a good point. I can go back and look into that. Like I'll do it at home
Yeah.
or something. I'll try to find out because
Yeah,
we
because
didn't even try.
like fuck.
The ones who are the fuckers are us.
Well, I just figure like no matter what we do, the game is gonna like end up the way that it wants to anyway. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
like I mean, I'll look into it.
Yeah, but anyway, I am excited. Obviously, our probably our most famous collaborations are the ones where we do comedy stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, people like even though like my audio was garbage at the time, like I've still got people occasionally pointing out like that they just really enjoy the Shut Up and Jam Gaiden Let's Play, and like
yeah,
what really pleased me was in Fucker in the Woods, like most of the comments there were like this game is horrible. I love it. It's like yes.
yeah, and that is the correct way to
Yeah,
enjoy
nobody
it.
was like, "What the fuck?" Everyone was like, "This is a fucking garbage pile. It's the best thing I've ever seen." It's like, yeah, that is correct.
And Lazrule like sells it like that.
Yep. I still love the README file for Fucker in the Woods, like for the FAQ. Like, I can't run the game. Like, have you tried right-clicking and selecting Run as Administrator? But then it's like, this game is horrible. This cannot be fixed. Like, yes.
He clearly loves what he's doing, and he's a master of his craft.
Yes.
So I'm very happy with
this is what visual novels have become.
Yeah, visual novels were already embarrassing to begin with, let alone like intentionally embarrassing. So
Not for real, dude. I keep saying it. Play fucking 428. You will
I
not
know.
be sorry.
I have so many the science adventure series. I
know.
need to
I've
play
been sitting on the
those.
science adventure for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I have them all. I just haven't gotten to them all.
I think I have like a torrent of Chaos Head, and I officially have Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero and Chaos Child.
I have them all. I have them all, and I have that I haven't played yet. I have the House of Fata Morgana that I haven't played yet.
Yeah, I got that. I'm very excited about. Did you get? I forgot. Did you get the limited run release?
Yeah, I did. I was fortunate.
That is gorgeous. Just look at it.
Yeah. Nick Rocks actually worked on this, so I was very happy about that. He's the guy who I got all of my visual novel taste from to begin with. So
there's AI Somnium Files, which people say is like
I need to play that.
Brilliant. I gotta play that one too.
I haven't played the latter two Nonary games either.
Yeah, neither have I. I still gotta catch up on
Danganronpa.
Yeah,
the third Danganronpa. Yeah, I beat 2, and then I got into Despair Girls, only a little, and then
yeah,
that's
I heard
where
Despair Girls is kind of like, yeah, I don't know, you could play 3, but like I want to play through them all.
Yeah, me too, and then I gotta watch the anime before I play the game. So.
Oh, that anime, right?
Yeah.
For a second, I was thinking the Danganronpa 1 anime, but that's right. There's the double anime for 3.
Yeah, so Danganronpa 3 happens right after Despair Girls.
Yeah.
And 2, which happen concurrently, and then you can play V3. V3 is what happens after the anime. So
yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Danganronpa 3 canonically is the anime, not the V3. V3 is something different.
It makes me think of like Parasite Eve. That's the sequel to Parasite Eve.
Yeah.
Like book followed by game followed by Parasite Eve 2, which is I guess really Parasite Eve 3.
I mean,
followed by Third Birthday, which is I guess 4.
Fight Club 2 was a comic book. Maybe
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. He didn't make a sequel to the book. He made a sequel to the movie.
Well, yeah, no, I heard like he like famously said when the movie came out, like, "Wow, I wish my book was this good." Like, damn, that's high praise.
Yeah. There've been very few movies that are like way like considered like better than the original.
But like by the author himself.
Yeah.
And I think Stephen King also had said, I don't know about the whole movie, but I think Stephen King said that he preferred the Mist's ending to his own ending.
Oh wow, I need to watch that. Ugh.
The Mist's ending is
grim.
It's oh man, it's
Yeah.
something.
It's very
something.
Cthulhu-esque from what I understand. So
But that's like the ending though. Oof.
yeah, I need to check that out.
Oh my god.
We're the ones who are the monsters, Lotus.
I'm sorry?
Okay. We are the ones who are the monsters, Lotus. Not
Not
them.
in that movie. It's the monsters that are the monsters, and they make that clear like immediately.
The monster was me. Okay.
No, this isn't like one of the Living Dead movie where like that general guy is a piece of shit, but they're also zombies. Like in the Mist, yes, humans become monsters pretty quickly. But seriously, it's the monsters, you know? Like, go outside and there's fucking monsters everywhere. It's like, oh no.
All right. Well, on that note, we should wrap up. This was a great entry here. That is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, and Twitter.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And if you are interested in seeing my videos early, and in fact, by the time this podcast goes up, first part of Fucker in the Woods will be up for patrons. So if you're interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting involved in discussions on Discord with me and other patrons, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
All right, everybody. Well, you could catch us on Thursday for Corrective Consciousness. So we'll have a great new episode on series past their that moved on.
Pass the torch.
Pass the torch on to other creators.
Also,
so,
I think I said Fucker in the Woods. I meant Gulag is coming up, but you know what I mean.
I don't.
Oh, well, it's the sequel to Fucker in the Woods.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We played it.
Good. It played us, really.
That is correct.
All right. Well,
every time Lazarus like, I can't believe I'm getting these guys to play this.
Look at these maroons. What a joke.
Yeah.
All right. We'll catch everybody on Thursday.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye.